In the bridal suite, Finn Frost's fingers locked around my throat. Why did you make me give her a transfusion? This is what you owe her. I backhanded him across the face, threw a right hook, and drove an elbow into his ribs. I don't owe you a damn thing. You're delusional, a terminal case of lovesick brain rot. Get a grip. She staged that fall all by herself. Don't you dare pin it on me. You get out, and take her with you. Both of you, stay the hell away from me. I had just slapped the male lead until his ears rang. Okay, so, I transmigrated. Straight into a train wreck of a true heiress versus fake heiress novel I just finished. I'm the long-lost true heiress they finally tracked down. But my biological parents and my 3 older brothers? They saved every ounce of affection for the fake heiress. In their eyes, I barged in and stole the life that should have been hers. They told me to behave, promised they wouldn't mistreat me, and reminded me not to expect too much. The fake heiress also had a childhood sweetheart, a lovesick lapdog of a male lead named Finn Frost. In the original story, the original me had some heavy childhood nostalgia for him. She was convinced he was the boy who once protected her and she loved him like crazy. She even agreed to donate a kidney to the fake heiress just to force him into marrying her. But Finn was straight out of a billionaire jerk playbook. He did whatever he pleased. He tortured the original female lead body and soul, gouged out her eyes, harvested her organs for the fake heiress, forced her to abort, shoved her off a cliff, threw her into the ocean, set fires. After surviving all of it, she vanished for 5 years and came back roaring about reclaiming everything. The plot that followed was even more ridiculous. Dramatic reunions, genius babies popping up one after another. It made my skin crawl. Luckily, I had just transmigrated at the exact moment Finn was being forced to go through with our wedding. Otherwise, according to the original storyline, I would have had to bulldoze that absurd genius baby nonsense and rewrite it from scratch. Before I transmigrated, I was a daughter of a martial arts family. By the time I turned 18, my father had already taught me 18 full fighting forms, fists, blades, staffs, you name it. To the outside world I was the tough, no-nonsense tomboy. Nobody knew the secret I kept buried under my blankets. I was a soft, romantic girl who devoured romance novels. If my father ever caught me, I'd be punished with 8 hours in horse stance. Sure enough, being too rebellious comes with a price. And the price I paid was this. I transmigrated into the tragic female lead everyone loves to pity. The tragic female lead suffers endless misery for one basic reason. She fell in love with a male lead who doesn't love her back, a man who gives all his devotion to a vicious secondary female lead. With Chloe, the fake heiress, deliberately framing and scheming against her, the original me had no way to defend herself and was met with nothing but cold contempt. So there I was at my wedding to Finn Frost, and the malicious fake heiress, Chloe Ashford, showed up dripping with fake grace to offer congratulations. Then she staged a deliberate tumble down the stairs, wailing, "Avery, why did you push me?" The whole thing was a one-woman show of stellar acting. Honestly, it was a waste she didn't pursue Hollywood. I got angrier by the second. On the spot I subdued Finn and slapped him multiple times. The arrogant lunatic who had been all fire a moment ago was instantly dazed. Between yelps he roared, "Avery, are you insane? You actually hit me." I grabbed his tie and shoved his face deep into a pillow. Had enough? Still feeling cocky? I demanded. Finn thrashed under me, getting pummeled, and very quickly his face swelled into a bruised mess. "Give me a break. Brawling is my family trade." Finn sputtered, outraged and shaken. "Why are you so violent? Was your whole gentle act just a lie?" I folded my arms and gave a flat laugh. "If you don't like it, call the cops. I know how this works. In billionaire jerk novels the male lead never plays by the rules, but I'm a main character too. Why should the female lead always swallow everything the male lead dishes out?" To my genuine surprise, Finn actually dialed 911. In a flash I understood. In the logic of a CEO romance, the law never touches the male lead, but it can bury the female lead with no effort at all. I'd merely taught him a lesson. His precious princess had a scratch, and now he was calling the cops to have me punished. Finn saw the flicker of alarm on my face and got cocky. His eyes did that classic 3 parts scorn, 3 parts mockery, 4 parts casual arrogance thing. "What, scared?" he said. "Kneel right now and apologize. Then go to the hospital and donate 500 milliliters of blood to Chloe. Then I'll let it go." That did it. I couldn't stop myself. I slapped him again. "You can't donate because your blood isn't a match, so you're forcing me?" Finn flinched, ducking his head with real wariness. "My blood type doesn't match hers. You and Chloe both have the same rare blood, the Rh negative type, the so-called panda blood. The whole mix-up at birth wasn't caught for years precisely because the blood types were so rare." My temper burned even hotter. Of course. Everybody in a billionaire romance has ultra-rare blood. You're not even a blood match and you have the nerve to claim your soulmates? You two plastic childhood sweethearts are only fooling yourselves. Sirens sounded downstairs. I snapped into action, deliberately messing up my hair, tearing my collar a little, and pinching bruises onto my arms and neck. Years of martial arts training gave me precise control. When I need to, I can be ruthless even to myself. The responding officer was straight out of a recruiting poster, sharp jaw, tall and solid, the full righteous uniform look. The moment he saw me, he practically lit up, like he'd found a kindred spirit. 3 years on the force and I finally get a domestic violence call, he said, genuinely excited. "Miss, don't be afraid. Tell me exactly what happened. Did this man assault you? I will absolutely have your back." This cop was clearly decent and passionate. I went with it, pinching my arm until it turned red, making my eyes well up on cue, and nodding pitifully. The officer was visibly moved. "Finally," he said, "finally a tragic novel heroine who knows how to fight for her own rights." Next to us, Finn completely lost it. "I'm the one who called the police. I'm the victim here," he bellowed. His yell snapped the officer back to the moment, but looking at Finn's battered face, the man had zero sympathy. Compare that to me, bruised all over, frail and helpless like a wind-tossed flower begging to be sheltered. I tilted my head slightly to reveal the red marks on my neck and my delicate profile. playing up the weekend round act. The officer's temper visibly flared. He dressed Finn down hard. The woman here hasn't shown any excessive resistance. And you, a grown man, are throwing a fit? What's wrong with you? Explain your relationship right now. If you refuse to cooperate, we'll take you in for questioning. Looking at this righteous, gorgeous officer, my heart just kind of slipped. The words came out before I could stop them. Officer, how old are you? What's your name? Can I get your number? I just turned 18 and I've never dated. Before the sentence even finished, Finn lunged at me like a man possessed. Lucky for me, years of horse dance training rooted me to the floor, so I didn't budge. With the officer watching, I let my knees buckle on purpose and collapsed neatly against the officer's chest, my cheek pressed against the fabric of his uniform. I lifted my eyes, all pitiful, then cut a glare over my shoulder at Finn, radiating hurt innocence. Finn completely spiraled. Avery, snap out of it. You're 22, not 18. I'm your husband, and you're flirting with another guy right in front of me? Have you no shame? I blinked with pure confusion. Did we even get a marriage license? Finn let out a cold laugh and slapped 2 red marriage certificates in front of me. I opened one. Sure enough, it was the original me and him. I quickly tucked both of them away. Gotta keep these safe. You need them for the divorce, and getting replacements is a hassle. Then I looked at the officer, all smiles. Officer, wait for me. Once the divorce is done, I'll come find you.
That made the officer break composure. He coughed into his hand, shooting a subtle look at his body camera, indicating it was still recording. Eventually, I got his name, Hunter Shaw. Hunter mediated between us, treating the whole thing as a domestic dispute. Both sides had superficial injuries, so no charges were filed. He sternly lectured Finn, putting your hands on someone is domestic violence. It's serious and you need to take a hard look at your behavior. Finn scrambled to defend himself. She's the one who assaulted me. I ducked my head bashfully. We just got married today. We haven't, consummated anything yet. Finn roared in utter humiliation, looking equal parts ludicrous and pathetic. I admitted it openly. That's right, I'm crazy. I was an 18-year-old girl with ancestral martial skills, determined to serve justice, and I woke up as a 22-year-old married woman whose husband is the most detestable male lead in a melodramatic tearjerker. Anyone would lose it. Besides, Finn is already 28. I've never been into guys with that big an age gap. Hunter talked us down for a long time, and once he was sure there would be no more physical fights, he turned and left. Finn realized he couldn't control me, so he switched tactics and tried to negotiate. Avery, stop this. Even if you act out like this, I still won't fall for you. I jumped right in. Good, I don't like you either. Let's get divorced. That one line left Finn speechless. You used to say you loved me, that you'd give anything if only I'd marry you. That was the original me's obsession. Has nothing to do with me. You promised after marriage you'd never cross the line, and today you put your hands around my throat. You broke the deal first, so don't blame me for pushing the divorce. Finn scrambled to explain, but I cut him off. I locked onto divorce and wouldn't budge, calling him an abuser to his face. Finn's face flushed with helpless fury. Even if we divorce, you promised to donate blood for Chloe. You can't renege, I'm begging you. She urgently needs it. Without a transfusion, her life could be in danger. I was so tired of this kind of lovesick male lead. Chloe had obviously thrown herself down the stairs. She had a couple of scratches at most. She didn't need a life-saving transfusion. Only the whole Ashford clan and her lovesick Finn could be this easily fooled. I curled my lips and let out a cold laugh. Life and death are fate. If it really comes to that, I'll send a nice wreath and a sympathy card. That one sentence broke Finn's mental dam entirely. Avery, how can you be so vicious? I chuckled. It took me physically fighting back for you to see my true nature. If you don't like it, hit me back. But the second you do, it's mutual assault and you'll never be able to run crying about it again. Finn clutched his chest, trembling with rage. In the end, consumed with despair, he spat, "Get out." I grabbed him by the collar, hauled him off the bed and threw him out the door. You're the one who needs to get out. This was the bridal suite, the place my mother had prepared for me. I said flatly, I don't have another place to stay tonight. The strongest one sets the rules, you crash in the guest room. And with that, I slammed the door in his face, nearly catching his nose. Locked outside, Finn kicked the door and ranted, "This is just playing hard to get. Acting all different won't make me want you." I changed into pajamas, put on a sheet mask and slowly opened the door. I uttered 2 flat words, then shut it before he could react, sealing out every decibel of noise. I slept like a baby right through till morning. When I woke up, I realized the original female lead might have looked pitiful, but she lived like a queen. A full set of luxury skincare, 8 figures in her bank account, and her daily driver was a multi-million-dollar Lamborghini. Sure, she was the real heiress who had been found and then ignored in favor of the fake one, but I couldn't bring myself to feel even a drop of pity. The only goal I had now was to divorce Finn Frost and go after the righteous, gentle Hunter Shaw. The next morning, I planned to find Finn and get the divorce paperwork underway, but he was nowhere to be found. Instead, my phone was bombarded with a wall of missed calls and messages from my family. The 3 Ashford brothers and both biological parents had lined up to send threats and accusations. My oldest brother, Ethan, "If anything happens to Chloe, I will never forgive you." My second brother, Lucas, "Chloe's forehead is bleeding. I'll make you pay the same price." My third brother, Noah, "I never imagined you could be this malicious. Stay away from Chloe from now on." My mother, Elena, "If I'd known your nature was this rotten, I would never have brought you back to the Ashford house. Chloe is my heart. You will come home and beg for her forgiveness." My father, Richard Ashford, the head of the family, kept his words brief and direct. "Chloe needs a kidney transplant. Donate one and I'll give you $100 million. Seeing that kind of payoff, I almost shouted at the absurdity. I honestly wished I had a few extra spare organs to sell. But human anatomy has limits, so I had to pass on the fortune. I tidied myself up and drove straight to the Ashford estate. My bank account was fat and I had no real desire to set foot in that cold house, but the Ashfords kept pushing, even plotting to carve out my organs. This was a trip I had to make. I raced all the way there, feeling especially grateful that my father had taught me to drive early. Total freedom. The moment my car rolled up to the Ashford gates, the family driver shot me an impatient look and opened his mouth to complain. I tossed him my keys and slapped him across the face. The housekeeper, Mrs. Ward, saw me arrive alone and started in on her usual mockery. She didn't finish the sentence before she got the same slap. I said coldly, "I am the true heiress of the Ashford family. You will address me as Miss Avery." One by one, all the household staff who had bullied the original me got their lesson. Along the roughly 100-meter walk from the gate to the main house, over a dozen people went running with their faces in their hands to tattle, the whole scene chaotic and magnificent. I had assumed Chloe, the faker who loved playing sick and pitiful, would be resting in a hospital. But no, there the whole Ashford family was, gathered cheerfully around the dining table having a meal, and Finn Frost, who had married me only yesterday, was seated right there with them. Finn's recovery was astonishing. The bruised wreck I'd left behind last night was already back to his chiseled, handsome self, with only a small cut at the corner of his mouth that gave him a hint of tortured poetry. Chloe, who claimed to have been gravely injured falling down the stairs, was completely unharmed, laughing and chatting with the family like the picture of harmony. Naturally. The malicious fake heiress always carries an immortal buff. Meanwhile, the bruises I had deliberately left on myself still hadn't faded. My arms and neck were mottled purple and blue, the perfect image of a tragic novel female lead's fragile body. The whole family was celebrating Chloe's miraculous clean bill of health. The second I walked in, every smile froze. Finn launched the first attack. "Avery, what exactly do you want?" "I came here deliberately to avoid you, and you chased me all the way to the Ashford house to keep harassing me." I couldn't be bothered with his self-flattering nonsense. "I'm just here to pick up my ID and documents. Let's part on decent terms and get this divorce over with." Finn looked utterly thrown. I raised an eyebrow and his face went pale. "Actually willing to divorce me? Sign fast and we go our separate ways." A husband with a twisted mind who can't tell right from wrong keeping you is pointless. Ashford family looked over in stunned disbelief, and Chloe put on her delicate act, asking softly, "Finn, what is she talking about? Did she hurt you?" No wonder they were all so shocked. The original Avery had always been weak and timid, letting everyone walk all over her. Even the household staff dared to slight her. Just as I was preparing to put my own soft, pitiful act back on, all the servants I'd disciplined stormed into the living room in a group, crying about their grievances. I didn't even let them finish. I gave out more corrections, making every single person properly address me, and my whole aura went full force. The Ashfords froze, then all shifted their eyes to Finn with expressions of deep sympathy. Finn knew exactly what they were picturing, his own humiliation from the night before. He blew up, shouting in fury. I turned and planted a clean slap on his face. Chloe saw her beloved get hit and burst into theatrical tears. I gave her a backhand that sent her sprawling to the floor. The three brothers rushed over to shield Chloe, coming at me one after another with demands. I gave each of them a lesson in short order. Within a few minutes, everyone in the Ashford house except Richard and Alina was sporting a matching red handprint on one side of the face. The symmetry was striking. Since childhood I had mastered 18 fighting forms. My speed and body mechanics outclassed ordinary people by a mile. In martial arts, speed is everything. That was my absolute source of confidence. Once they'd all tasted my capability, everybody was trembling, lining up like scolded children. I pulled over a chair, sat down and crossed my legs, my presence icy. Everyone stood rigid with fear. I said casually, "Why are you all standing? Kneel." My mother Alina exploded. She jabbed a finger at me, screaming, "I am your biological mother. How dare you tell me to kneel? Aren't you afraid of divine punishment?" I met her eyes calmly. "Won't know unless we try. Your whole family, all of you together, can't do a thing to me. I'm game if you are." A few of the staff started to snicker before I cut a cold glance around the room. Silence fell instantly. Chloe's eyes gleamed with venom she didn't dare show. A flash, she slipped back into her fragile persona and dropped to her knees, playing the noble penitent. "Sister, it's all my fault. I stole your life. I stole the family's love. Blame me, punish me. I'll accept it willingly. Just please don't hurt Mom and Dad and our brothers. They're your blood." I pulled out my phone, cast the screen onto the living room's big display and put every single threatening message. The demands that I donate my kidney up on the wall. You all keep saying family. But every message you sent was full of poison. Forcing your biological daughter to give up a kidney for money, threatening her, verbally abusing her. Family like this, hard pass. I went down the line, calling out every one of them for their selfishness and double standard. My so-called family poured every bit of their affection onto the adopted daughter. The moment she felt even a little wronged, it was my fault. A tiny scrape on her and the whole squad mobilized. They couldn't tell black from white, right from wrong. It was a joke. Finn's face darkened. He stepped forward to cut me off. "Enough, stop spouting nonsense." I silenced him with another slap. Finn's eyes swam with humiliation. He swallowed his pride and tried a different tune. "I won't see Chloe anymore. I'll be devoted to you wholeheartedly. Just stop making trouble." Staring at this male lead who had abruptly switched his obsessive attachment to me, I felt nothing but disbelief. I kicked him away and shut down any attempt to cling. My extreme actions in the Ashford house thoroughly outraged everyone, and they decided to call the police. When I saw Hunter Shaw walk in, I flipped my entire state like a switch. My eyes reddened, tears slid down my cheeks. "Hunter, help me. My parents imprisoned me and tried to force me to donate an organ to the adopted daughter. The messages on the screen, those are all evidence." Hunter took in the content on the display, factored in the testimonies of a whole squad of injured household staff, and then looked at my delicate, pitiful, bruised figure. In a heartbeat, he settled on the truth and stepped in front of me, shielding me. Forcing a citizen to donate human organs is against the law. This will not be brushed aside. Finn sputtered his denials, but he had zero credibility. Hunter looked around at the room full of people nursing injuries and said coldly, "Nearly 30 adults, and not one of you could handle a single slim woman. Your story isn't convincing. Everyone is coming down to the station for questioning." I hid behind Hunter and between tears let out all my grievances, the favoritism, the coercion, the threats. Hunter's sense of justice caught fire. He hauled the entire Ashford crew down to the station and opened an investigation on suspicion of unlawful confinement and intimidation. In the end, there were no heavy charges, but every single Ashford received a strict official reprimand. I also discovered to my delight that Hunter's rank wasn't low. He was the one in charge there. Sharp eye, full of integrity, after giving my statement, Hunter walked me out of the station. I held his hand, reluctant to let go. Once my divorce goes through, I'm coming for you. Will you mind that I've been married before? I never loved Finn, not for a moment. It was all coercion. Hunter's face immediately flushed. He gently pulled his hand free. Please have some self-respect. I'm not that casual. Even turned down, his cool, restrained reaction made my heart skip just the same. After that incident, the Ashfords fully deflated. They didn't dare boss me around or threaten me anymore. My father Richard, my mother Elena, and the 3 brothers each proactively sent me large bank transfers as compensation, begging me not to make those messages public and turn them into laughingstocks. Finn also sent money and pleaded for a truce. He asked me not to file for divorce just yet. I soon found out why. The Frost family's internal power struggle was brutal, and only by marrying the true Ashford heiress could Finn secure his inheritance and suppress his half-brothers. I flat out refused. I'll take the money, but the divorce is non-negotiable. I absolutely won't get entangled in this marriage, and I won't twist myself into knots for anyone. Finn's face clouded with grief. He grilled me about why I had changed. I told him straight. I mistakenly thought you were the boy who saved me once, and that turned into an obsession. After spending time with you, I've seen your real character. Your morals are shady and your values are broken. I feel nothing for you. You're devoted to Chloe, so go be with her. Finn's expression went dark. He'd guessed my interest in Hunter. With obsessive stubbornness, he declared he would never agree to a divorce. A divorce requires both parties to sign willingly. Pure force couldn't solve this one, and I wasn't about to exhaust myself chasing it. So with a gigantic bankroll at my disposal, I drove my sports car around, traveling, shopping, unwinding, and unlocking all the joys of being rich. Between trips, I made a point of visiting the family that raised the original me. When the Barbies were switched, the original Avery grew up in the countryside. Her adoptive parents were modest folks with a son and a daughter of their own. The household washable, but they never mistreated her. Meanwhile, Chloe, eager to monopolize the wealthy life, had constantly stirred up drama and alienated Avery from both families. I gave the adoptive parents a generous sum as thanks for raising me, and I funded a rural road, helped build a school, basically did whatever charity felt right, random acts of kindness, pitching in here and there. Someone filmed one of those moments and it went viral. The internet dubbed me the cash saint, the sugar heiress. They dug up my background, the Ashford true heiress, every family member a corporate executive, husband a billionaire CEO. The entire internet was singing my praises. I just tossed off a dry comment. Appreciate the love, but the only thing I'll accept right now is a bank transfer. Half a year slipped by in easy leisure. I was tossing coins into a wishing fountain when my phone lit up with an urgent call from Finn, demanding I come back immediately. I figured enough time had passed. I really should go wrap up the divorce and keep my promise to Hunter. I booked a ticket and flew back. The moment I stepped off the plane, Finn's people grabbed me and whisked me straight to the hospital. My stomach dropped. Sure enough, that tired old melodrama plot was kicking in again. Finn's eyes were red-rimmed as he grabbed my hands and begged, Avery, please save Chloe. Her condition deteriorated. She needs a kidney transplant immediately. If you'll donate, I'll spend the rest of my life being faithful. I'll make it up to you forever. The cheap promise was laughable. The whole Ashford family piled on, piling guilt and obligation on me, trying to force me to sacrifice myself for Chloe. I looked around at those selfish faces, and slowly, calmly, I pointed out the most ridiculous logical flaw in this entire novel. Everybody knows Chloe and I both have that super rare Rh negative blood type. But did any of you ever stop to think blood type is hereditary? Dad is Rh negative. My 3 brothers, all Rh negative. You shower Chloe with all that love, yet it never once occurred to you to ask a blood relative to step up. One family, 5 people with the rare blood type, 4 of them healthy as horses, all eligible. Why are you all so fixated on me? Silence hit the room like a physical blow. Richard looked deeply uncomfortable. Elena was the first to protest, citing her age and frail health as a reason to refuse. I turned to my 3 brothers. I asked them one by one. Ethan, too busy, a company to run, would hurt my career. Lucas, my partner, would never be okay with it. The sentiment card. Noah, honestly, I'm terrified of needles. Pass out at the sight of blood. Delicate constitution. Elena instantly jumped to coo over him, building a shield of maternal protection. I spread my hands. When nobody's willing to sacrifice, then we just let nature take its course. Finn looked around at the Ashfords, all busy dodging responsibility, and his face filled with bitter disappointment. Everyone practically sighed in relief, making excuses to each other, slowly accepting that Chloe's fate was sealed. Only Finn refused to let go. He was determined to guard the terminally ill Chloe. He walked into her hospital room, gentle and reassuring, feeding all her hopeful expectations. Chloe was still scheming for my kidney, dreaming of recovery and a forever with Finn. I took out my phone, snapped a picture of the 2 of them in their intimate moment, and fired it straight into the Frost family group chat. I tagged Grandma Frost and wrote bluntly that Finn's heart belonged to Chloe, and I was respectfully asking the elders to approve a divorce. Grandma Frost was iron-willed and fiercely in my corner. She declared she would never allow Finn to marry that sickly Chloe, stating I was the only granddaughter-in-law she recognized. I politely declined her special favor, making it clear I had no desire to cling to Finn. Finn lunged over and snatched my phone, demanding furiously what I was doing. I planted a fist in his gut, grabbed my phone back, and flatly ordered him to cooperate with the divorce the next day, or I would make his adultery public. With that evidence in hand, I held all the leverage. Backed into a corner, Finn had no choice but to confess to his family. He even showed them his bruises and begged for the divorce on grounds of domestic abuse. For a family as image-obsessed as the Frosts, a scandal was the last thing they wanted. They quickly gave their consent. We went to the county clerk, signed the papers, and half an hour later I was holding the divorce decree. Walking out, I waved goodbye to my ex-husband. The feeling was pure, clean freedom. Finn stood there full of resentment, swearing I'd regret it. I told him the only one who'd ever have regrets wasn't me. After shedding that miserable marriage, I called Hunter that very evening to invite him to dinner and share the good news of my divorce. Unfortunately, his duty schedule was packed and he gently turned me down. That gentle voice still made my heart flutter. Single again, I kept enjoying life, kept investing, kept giving to charity, and waited for Hunter's schedule to open up. Without even trying, my assets kept multiplying and I landed comfortably on a young philanthropist rich list. I never followed what happened next for Finn and Chloe. One day, all dressed up and ready to finally meet Hunter for a movie date, I drove into the underground parking garage of my building. The second I stepped out of the car, blinding headlights flared, an engine roared, and a vehicle came screaming at me at full speed. Reflex took over. I planted one hand on my car's roof, went upside down in a clean vault, and let the vehicle tear past just beneath me. The driver swerved at the limit and came around for a second charge. Years of martial arts gave me the agility. I leaped straight onto the hood, landed on the roof, and perfectly evaded. My $1,000,000 Lamborghini wasn't so lucky, it got obliterated on impact. The attacker crumpled inside the wreck, pinned by his own airbag. I jumped down and walked to the shattered window. Attempted murder, deliberate destruction of property, you're looking at a massive price tag, he said coldly. The driver twisted his face into a snarl and tried to struggle free. I grabbed his wrist, gave a small twist and dislocated it. He screamed and stopped moving. Who sent you? I demanded. The garage has full camera coverage, attempted homicide. There's no wiggling out of it. He refused to talk at first. I applied a little more pressure and he spilled everything. The man who hired him was Finn Frost. Chloe was in end-stage renal failure, no matching kidney in sight. Desperate, Finn had paid this man to run me over and kill me, planning to forge an organ donation consent form and forcibly harvest my kidney to save Chloe. Reckless, lawless, utterly convinced he was above any consequence, classic male lead behavior straight out of that novel. The evidence was ironclad. I called the police immediately. Conspiracy to commit murder, aggravated assault, attempted illegal organ harvesting, every charge was a felony. Finn was arrested fast. The Frost family threw their weight around, trying to pressure me into signing a forgiveness statement for a lighter sentence. They even threatened to drive the Ashford family business into bankruptcy. I recorded and filmed all of it, and then I aired everything, every threat, every scheme. The scandal torched the Frost reputation. The family conglomerate's stock nosedived, and they teetered on the edge of bankruptcy. Finn, guilty of serious crimes with zero repentance, was sentenced to a full 10 years in prison. Without Finn's obsessive protection and with no suitable kidney match ever surfacing, Chloe didn't last long. She passed away from her illness. Her biological parents came and asked only to take her ashes home for burial. I gave my consent without hesitation. 10 years is a long time. By the time Finn was released and made his way to her grave to pay respects, the world had moved on. Weeds had swallowed everything. As for me, on the night Chloe died, the accumulated merit from all my good deeds finally unlocked my exit, and I slipped free of that novel world and snapped back to reality. The moment I transmigrated back was exactly the moment Hunter and I had confessed our feelings, that split second before we fell into each other's arms. That surge of joy was ripped away mid-motion. We never got to finish that embrace. I sat there sobbing with pure frustration. Once I was fully back in my own world, I immediately dug up that novel. The entire text had been rewritten. Everything in the book was now exactly what I'd done. It opened like a tragedy but ran like a triumph, the female lead flipping the script, tearing the villains apart. The story was on fire, topping the charts. The author, who used to write pure angst, had switched lanes entirely, announcing she would only write satisfying power fantasies from now on, and was done with miserable melodrama. Only I was left with a hollow ache, still hung up on the Hunter from that novel. My father saw me crying for no obvious reason and started teasing me, asking what was wrong. I poured out my sorrow, telling him I'd missed my shot at true love. And just as I was sitting there deep in gloom, the courtyard gate slowly swung open. A tall, sharp, impossibly familiar figure walked in. The young man looked up and asked, "Excuse me, is this the home of Master Vance? My name is Hunter. I'm obsessed with traditional martial arts, and I've come to beg him to take me as a disciple." I went completely still. The person I'd been aching for from inside a novel was standing right here in reality. I shot forward and greeted him with blazing enthusiasm. "That's right, you're in the right place. I'll accept you on my father's behalf. From now on, I'm your senior sister. Anything you want to learn, I can teach you. Oh, by the way, junior brother, how do you feel about dating inside the sect?" I tugged Hunter by the hand and headed for the back courtyard, a brand new story opening in front of us. Behind me, I could hear my father's sputtering rage. The sweet new life that belonged to me and Hunter had only just begun. The end.